Good morning. Happy Sunday morning, or whenever you might be watching this. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Chantel. It is Sunday, January 23rd. And I'm just realizing I'm talking for the first time, so my voice is scratchy. Excuse me. Welcome to our Sunday morning practice. Today is our last week exploring loving kindness. And what I thought I had planned, I decided to do something different, given the recent death of a beloved teacher. And so I thought that I would, in fact, use his loving kindness from Thich Nhat Hanh, from No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering, which is one of his beautiful books. And I realized this morning as I went to get it to show you, it's at my office and not at home. So it's a beautiful book. What I love most about his books are there is some simplicity in his teaching, and yet as you dive deep, you realize such great wisdom there as well. And so I invite you, in whatever way feels comfortable for you today. This will be a slightly different practice, but I just invite you to explore the teachings and the practice itself that's embedded within this. And so finding a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you today. For me, again, today, it's in a chair. If it's in a chair, making sure your feet are on the floor. If you're seated on the floor, perhaps cross-legged, but whatever feels comfortable for you. If you're on the ground in particular and you're in easy pose, making sure that your hips are higher than your knees, which will take off a lot of the pressure off your knees. So having it as high as need be, because sometimes we sit and our knees are poking up. And so if that's the case, we want to lift our hips so that our knees are below our hips, and it will take a lot of the pressure off. So find that comfortable seat, and whenever you're ready, lowering your gaze, making sure you're not looking at the screen for sure, but you're putting away all the technology, at least for these next few moments. Perhaps having a coffee, tea, or water near you, your journal perhaps as well. Closing eyes or lowering your gaze, and just taking a few moments to be with your body, to be with your breath. Giving deep gratitude for all that it offers you to live in this world, to, as weird and wacky as this strange world is these days. Loving kindness, or metta meditation, is a practice of cultivating understanding, love, compassion, by looking deeply first for ourselves and then for others. So once we love and take care of ourselves, we can be much more helpful to other people. So metta can be practiced even line by line, just allowing ourselves to feel in and to cultivate more compassion and healing into the world. To love is, first of all, to accept ourselves as we actually are. That is why in this love meditation, know thyself is the first practice of love. When we practice this, we see the conditions that have caused us to be the way we are. This makes it easy for us to accept ourselves, including our suffering and our happiness at the same time. Metta, or loving kindness, metta means loving kindness in Pali or Sanskrit. And it begins always with this aspiration, may I be. And we transcend the level of aspiration and look deeply at all the positive and negative characteristics of the object of our meditation, in this case, ourselves. The willingness to love is not yet love. We look deeply and with all our being in order to understand. We don't repeat the words or imitate others or strive after some ideal. The practice of love meditation is not an auto-suggestion. We don't just say, I love myself, I love all beings. We look deeply at our body, at our feelings, our perceptions, our mental formations, and our consciousness. Our aspiration to love will become a deep intention when done over a few weeks. Love will enter our thoughts, our words, and our actions, and we will notice that we have become more peaceful, happy, enlightened body and spirit, safe and free from injury, and free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. When we practice, we observe how much peace, happiness, and lightness we already have. We notice whether we are anxious, how much anger, irritation, fear, anxiety, or worry are already in us. As we become aware of the feelings in us, our self-understanding will deepen. We will see how our fears and lack of peace contribute to our unhappiness. And we will see the value of loving ourselves and cultivating a heart of compassion. By practice mindful living, we are able to deal with all of the things that come up with us, or the afflictions, and our love is translated into effective action. To practice this love meditation, sit still, calm your body and your breathing, and recite to yourself. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May they be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May we be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. May they be safe and free from injury. May we all be safe and free from injury. May I be free of anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May they be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May we all be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. We begin loving kindness meditations on ourselves. Until you are able to love and take care of yourself, you cannot be of much help to others. After that, we practice on others. First on someone you like, then on someone neutral, then on someone that perhaps the mere thought of whom makes you suffer. And then we extend it outwards. Begin this practice by looking deeply into your body, asking yourself right now, how is my body in this moment? How was it in the past? How will it be in the future? Look into your body to see whether it is at peace or is suffering. Look at the conditions of your lungs, your heart, your intestines, your kidney, your liver, to see what the real needs of your body is. When you do this, you will eat, drink, and act in ways that demonstrate your love and your compassion for your body. We all follow ingrained habits. But when you look deeply, you see many of these habits harm your body, your mind. So you work to transform your habits in ways conducive to good health and vitality. Now observe your feelings. Observe your feelings, whether they are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Feelings flow in us like a river, and each feeling is a drop of water in that river. Look into the river of your feelings and see how each feeling came to be. See what has been preventing you from being happy. And do your best to transform those things. Practice touching the wondrous, refreshing, and healing elements that you are already in you and in the world. Doing so, you become stronger and better able to love yourself and others. The Buddha observed, the person who suffers most in this world is the person who has made many wrong perceptions, and most of those perceptions are erroneous. Meditate on your perceptions. You see a snake in the dark and you panic, but when your friend shines a light on it, you see that it's only a rope. You have to know which wrong perceptions cause you to suffer. Observe your mental formations, the ideas and tendencies within you that lead you to speak and act as you do. Practice looking deeply to discover the true nature of your mental formations, how you are influenced by your individual consciousness and also by the collective consciousness of your family, your ancestry, your society. Unwholesome mental formation cause so much disturbances. Wholesome mental formations bring about love, happiness, and liberation. Finally, look at your consciousness. Consciousness is like a field with every possible kind of seed in it. Seeds of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Seeds of anger, fear, and anxiety. And seeds of mindfulness. Consciousness is the storehouse that contains all these seeds, all the possibilities of whatever might arise in your mind. When your mind is not at peace, it may be because of the desires and feelings in your store consciousness. To live in peace, you have to be aware of your tendencies, your habit energies, so you can exercise some self-control. This is the practice of preventative health care. Look deeply into the nature of your feelings to find their roots, to see which feelings need to be transformed, and nourish those feelings that bring about peace, joy, and well-being. Taking a deep breath, release through your mouth, repeating to yourself, May I learn to look at myself with the eyes of understanding and love. May I learn to look at them with the eyes of understanding and love. May I learn to look at all of us with the eyes of understanding and love. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in myself. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in them. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in us all. May I learn to identify and see the sources of anger, cravings, and delusions in myself. May I learn to identify and see the sources of anger, craving, and delusion in them. May I learn to identify and see the sources of anger, cravings, and delusion in us all. We begin to understand our own true nature. As long as we reject ourselves and continue to harm our own body and mind, there's no point in talking about loving and accepting others. With mindfulness, we will be able to recognize our habitual ways of thinking and the contents of our thoughts. We shine the light of mindfulness on the neural pathways in our mind so we can see them clearly. Whenever we see or hear something, our attention can be appropriate or inappropriate. With mindfulness, we can recognize which it is and release inappropriate attention and nurture appropriate attention. Appropriate mental attention brings us happiness, peace, clarity, and love. Inappropriate attention fills our mind with sorrow, worry, anger, and prejudice. Mindfulness helps us practice appropriate attention and water the seeds of peace, joy, and liberation in us. Then we can use mindfulness to illuminate our speech. So we can use loving speech and stop before we say anything that creates conflict for ourselves and others. Then we look at our physical actions. Mindfulness illuminates how we stand, sit, walk, smile, frown, and how we look at others. We recognize which actions are beneficial and which harm. When we can understand ourselves and others, this is the key that opens the door of love and acceptance of oneself and others. May I be able to recognize and touch the seeds of joy and happiness in myself. The soil of our mind contains many seeds, positive and negative. We are the gardeners who identify, water, and cultivate the best seeds. Touching the seeds of joy, peace, freedom, solidity, and love in ourselves and each other is an important practice that helps us grow in the direction of health and happiness. May I learn to identify and see the sources of anger, cravings, and delusion in myself. We look deeply to see how these came about. What are the roots? And how long have they been there? We practice mindfulness in our daily lives to be able to be aware of that such poisons as cravings, anger, delusion, arrogance, and suspicion are present in us. We look and see how much suffering they have caused ourselves and others. We need to master our own anger before we can help others to do the same. Arguing with others only waters the seeds of anger within us. When anger arises, return to yourself and use the energy of mindfulness to embrace, soothe, and illuminate it. Don't think you'll be better if you lash out and make the other person suffer. The other person might respond even more harshly and anger will escalate. When anger arises, close your eyes and ears, return to yourself, and tend to the source of anger within. Transforming your anger is not just for your own personal liberation, but everyone around you and even those more distant will benefit. Look deeply at your anger as you would look at your own child. Don't reject it or hate it. The point of meditation is not to turn yourself into a battlefield, one side opposing the other. Conscious breathing soothes and calms the anger. Mindfulness penetrates it. Anger is just an energy, and all energies can be transformed. Meditation is the art of using one kind of energy to transform another. May I know how to nourish the seeds of joy in myself every day. May I know how to nourish the seeds of joy in them every day. May I know how to nourish the seeds of joy in all of us every day. May I be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May they be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May we be able to live fresh, solid, and free. May I be free from attachments and aversions, but not be indifferent. May they be free from attachments and aversions, but not be indifferent. May we be all free from attachments and aversions, but not be indifferent. These aspirations help us to water the seeds of joy and happiness that lie deep in our stored consciousness. The notions we entertain about what will bring us happiness are just a trap. We forget that they are only ideas. Our idea of happiness can prevent us from being happy. When we believe that happiness should take a particular form, we fail to see the opportunities for joy that are right in front of us. Happiness is not an individual matter. It is the nature of interbeing. When you are able to make one friend smile, her happiness will nourish you also. When you find ways to foster peace, joy, and happiness, you do it for everyone. Begin by nourishing yourself with joyful feelings. Practice walking meditation outside, enjoying the fresh air, the trees, the stars in the night sky. What do you do to nourish yourself? It's important to discuss ways to nourish joy and happiness. When we succeed in doing this, your suffering, sorrow, and painful mental formations begin to be transformed. Freedom means transcending the trap of harmful desires and being without attachments, whether to an institution, a diploma, or a certain rank. From time to time, we encounter people who are free and can do whatever is needed. Indifference, when we are indifferent, nothing is enjoyable, interesting, or worth striving for. We don't experience love or understanding, and our life has no joy or meaning. We don't even notice the beauties of nature or the laughter of children. We are unable to touch the suffering or the happiness of others. Or you find yourself in a state of indifference, ask for help. Even with all its suffering, life is filled with many, many wonders. Free from attachment and aversion, this kind of love that is to cultivate is not possessive or attached. All of us, young and old, have a tendency to become attached. As soon as we are born, attachment to self is already there. In wholesome love relationships, there's a certain amount of possessiveness and attachment, but if it's excessive, both lover and beloved will suffer. If a father thinks he owns his son, or if a young man tries to put restrictions on his partner, then love becomes a prison. Attachment obstructs the flow of life. Look deeply to discover the nature of your love. Identify any attachment or possessiveness. Then you can begin untangling the knots, the seeds of true love, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity are already there in your store consciousness. Through the practice of deep looking, the seeds of suffering and attachment will shrink, and the positive seeds will blossom. We can arrive at a love that is spacious and all-encompassing. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May they be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May we be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. Thank you for your practice today and for joining me, whether you're here live or watching this later. May you have a wonderful week filled with love, joy, and compassion.